Hello, my name is David Webb, and this is a video for Dweebovision. I am a Scrabble grandmaster, and in this video I am going to play Scrabble while providing in-game commentary on my moves. Hopefully this will help to improve your game, and be fun to watch. The game has just started, so let's join the action. It's me to go first. I have the blank, which is good. I don't have a bingo. I think Vox is the best way of clearing out the non-bingo-y tiles and scoring quite well. That's pretty good. I'm sure I have a choice of bingos here. Vox takes nothing in front or after it, and nor does the letter V. Now I have a double lane to consider in column 11. So I've got denoting, which hits one of those doubles. Can I do better than that? Yes, I can. I've got indigent. And probably even better is inditing, because indigent takes an S. This is a good start. Inditing 86. And that's a pretty good pickup. I must be close to a bingo. I've got progeria in column 13 in 2 different placements. Do I have anything through the N or G? I have Geropyga. Great. Geropyga not blocked. Let me get this down. There may be something through the N, but this is going to score more, so I don't need to look for that. Geropyga 76. I draw the J. I think my bingo run has come to an end, but this is still quite a good rack. I have K John and K Jun, both of which play in rows, either row K or row M. My opponent has challenged Geropyga. The word is good. He loses 5 points. I've now got a 140-point lead. So an excellent start to the game. Hopefully I can extend this lead. One blank has gone. But one is still available. Now, can I do better than Cajun? K John leaves OU, K Jun leaves OO. Both pretty poor rack leaves. Now I can also play Cajun at a 12 down. Have I got anything in column 8 going through the O of Geropyga? No. Through an A I would have Akaju. Now what about playing down column 5 through the G of Geropyga? Can't see anything good in that spot. Well, I could play Juga. I think this will maximise score. 3 O's left and 2 U's. Probably not very much between OU and OO. 36 points. All different tiles, which is good. No duplicates. Not a bingo-y rack, but I do have scoring tiles. And they're synergetic scoring tiles. I've got Mo Hua, which plays in column 8. I've also got Whammo, which plays in row K. I'm expecting my opponent to take out row A, but if he doesn't, okay, he does. I don't think I've got a good play ending with that C. Now, do I have something good in column 14? I've got the O and A for going after Ag. Well, I could play Whore, keeping Mouse. Mouse, not a bad leave. 38 points for Whammo in row K. $39 for Whore. I think Mouse is quite a good rack leave. Couple of duplicate tiles. Through an N, I would have sunrooms. The only floaters are the G of Jeropyga and the I of Enditing. I've got UT in column 15 to consider. I can stick an O in front of that to make out, but I can't see a bingo. This board is fairly blocked, which is in my favour. I've also got the OUS ending. With SORM. Now only 12 points for my opponent, which is good. He's provided a few more floaters. None of those really help me. Now, what would sort this rack out? Well, certainly playing off O and U, and M is my scoring tile. Well, let me see what this scores. ORS. $43 points, which is fantastic, given the starting rack. And I'm not playing off the U, but apart from that, everything else is good. And I don't think I'm going to score anything like that elsewhere. Great. That's a nice balanced rack. My lead is now 200 points through an R. I would have turmoils. I have out Smile in row D, which I have some doubt about, but I'm going to play it if it remains available. I've still got the out prefix in column 15. Out Smile is blocked. That's a shame. Now, is there a 7-letter word with this rack? Not too many spots to play it if there is, just rows K and M, I think. So, what to do? The M is my scoring tile. I don't have anything to go in front of HI to utilise the triple word square at A8. Gosh, is Mout good? I'm looking in row I to make Yom and Oxo. Mout is one of those words I struggle with because I confuse it with the 4-letter words ending OU, P for Peter. So I think it's Coop and Moop are both good, but Cout and Mout aren't. Well, certainly no point in risking that. I could play Mooley in column 8 at the bottom 21 points, keeping STU. But surely I can leave a better rack leave than that. Well, what about this? MU. 26 points, which is a good score, and it's a balanced rack leave, and it's not providing anything good for my opponent. Brutal. I duplicate 2 of the tiles on my rack with my 2-tile pickup. No bingos here, and no scoring tiles. I can play Olio in column 8 at the bottom, which sorts the rack out, at the expense of providing a couple of floaters. That's only 12 points. And I can't use the OXO hook to good effect because I've got nothing to go after YO. I'm just checking in column 5 to see if I have a bingo through the G. By checking, I mean checking in my mind. I can see ologists, but that's only using 6 of my tiles, not 7. So at the moment, I'm looking at Olio. I think Stylion is good if there were to be a floating N. Or I may be confusing that with something else. Just 12 points for my opponent, which is good. He provides an L. I don't really need any more of those. So I think Olio is the best move. And this is a way of playing off an L as well. So a way of playing Lilo. Well, Lilo and Lug. 9 points. That would be 3 fewer points for getting rid of the L. I think I'll keep the L. Only one of them unseen. And I can't see a good spot for Lilo. This doesn't feel great at all. But it also doesn't feel terrible. Not good. I seem to have been somewhat short on ease in this game, or it feels like it. And that negatively impacts your bingo prospects. The K and the V lack synergy, which means there aren't that many words which use both of them. Now, my V can go in front of UG to make VUG. And I'd rather play off the V than the K. Because the K is more bingo-y, but I'll play off the K if I can get enough points. And my K can go in front of HI at the top of column 8, so I could play Ilk and Kai. Or even Ilks, Kai and Say. Still 2 S's and a blank unseen. Yes, not particularly useful. My opponent's played Oxid for 13. That's good. Not many points there. Well, there is a KV play I can make up here. It's Kvass. Let me see what this scores. £46 points. And the alternative, £41 points. Well, I think Kvass is better. And I'm playing off the S because it's generating at least 8 points. Feltier and Fertile. Not sure there's anywhere for those. My opponent's play of Liu took out. We're okay. Wow, good bingo by my opponent. 70 points for him. He is still 170 points behind. And he's provided no new floaters. Now we've got the K of Kvass for bingos ending like. Fret like, not good. So I don't have anything there. There's the E of Liu in column 4 for bingos ending in E. Not sure if Fleetier is good. It might be, but it doesn't end in E. What about the L? Filleter. Wow. I have some doubt about this, but I think it's good. It seems highly plausible. To fillet is a common verb, so the agent noun does exist, I think. Let's find out. And if this stays on, I've got the Z, I've got... ooh, and it doesn't. Painful. Okay. Now I note that row J is a bingo lane, but fertiled isn't good. I think leftier isn't good. Okay, a few more considerations. There's the C, bingo's ending IC, haven't got anything there. I've got 8 minutes on my clock, 9 letter plays, including AL. What would that look like? Well, that would be afterlife, or nearly afterlife. Well, I don't think there's one there. And then there's RE in column 4, so a play ending in fire. Can't see anything there. But this is quite a good rack. I've got a scoring tile in the F, so not difficult to sort out. But how best to do so? 11 tiles in the bag. I'm drawn to the bottom right of the screen. So I can play Phi here. 25 points. LRT, not a great rack lead, but I'm miles ahead and there are very few bingo lanes on this board. So it's not the case that I need to prioritise a bingo-y rack leave. 25 points is good, and I'm denying my opponent this spot. Pretty good rack. It's quite flexible. And the F and the Y are scoring tiles which do have synergy. Now, is Carby good? Does Carb take a Y? Should know that, but I don't. If it did, Phi and Carby would be a pretty useful play. I'm just considering Carbia and Carbiest to see if there are any anagrams of those which I'm sure of, which might then prompt the full set of anagrams, and then I'd know if Carbiest was good. And if Carbiest is good, then Carby would be good. Well, no anagrams of Carbiest are coming to mind. It stays available, but I don't wish to phony again. Now, what do I have which goes after bug? Nothing. 6 tiles left. I can play my F here. That keeps the score ticking along. Both of those moves are certainly good. It provides nothing for my opponent. I have neutral. This is an extremely blocked board, which is fine because I'm 170 points ahead. Now, do I have a bingo through the second O of oleo? That would be outlearn. That doesn't play. I don't think there are any anagrams of outlearn. I have no scoring tiles. There are 4 tiles left, including the Q and the Z. And all the... Wow, look at that, 76 points. I will check that, but I think it's good. Fantastic, excellent bingo. Now my opponent empties the bag. And I can see what he's got. He's got A, E, Q, Z. He's still 80 points behind, so he is going to lose. What should I do with my rack? Neutral doesn't play anywhere. It doesn't have any anagrams. What I need to consider is what my opponent can do with his Q and Z. So, considering the Q first, where can that be played? Well, he can play Chi next to the first eye of Twittery. He can also play cat in row A. Can he play his Q anywhere else? I've got 5 minutes left. So I'm looking out for U's and I's on the board. Well, I think he can play cat in rows A, D and E, and G in row C, which suggests that a 3 or 4 letter play in column 4 might obstruct all of those. So how can I do that? Well, my A's got to go here if I'm going to block cat in row A. So my L could go there, and my E here. So how well does that work? Am I blocking all of the Q spots? I'm blocking cat, G, cat, and cat. Aleo is not good. I've got 4 minutes left. Now my opponent can still score well with his Z. He can play... Oh, maybe he can't score that well. I'm certainly not providing an opportunity for him to do an amazing Z score. He can play Zeta across here. That's not going to score very much. So I think this sticks my opponent with the Q. Let's find out. And I can now go out with runt in column 3. I'm not sure if I have a second out. Well, I have tuner in row F, but that could be blocked at the same time as runt. My play of Ale does take an E in front, so my opponent could play Zeta in row A. But again, that's not a huge score, and runt and turn are still playable in columns 3. I can't see anything through the O of oleo. But if my opponent is stuck with the Q, it's not a priority to play out in one go. I could play out a single tile at the time. Which certainly, if he plays Zeta in row A, would be the right thing to do. My opponent's got 12 minutes on his clock. I've got 3. So what I need to do is consider where I can score the maximum for my tiles if I play them one at a time. So looking at the N, I can play Orn in row B for 8 points. I'm just scanning down the board for anything better than that. I've got Neff in column 13 for 12 points. That's pretty good. So good, that's 2 good spots for the N. What about the R? Raw in row B for 6. Not particularly great. Just under halfway down, not seen anything else. 12 points for my opponent. He has blocked my 2 out spots. So I've got 3 minutes left. He's got a Q and an A. I ought to consider where he can play his A. But I am short on time. Well, he can play Tsar for 12. Well, I'm inclined to let him do that. So this was the good N spot. I think I'll play that. Now I'm just considering my U. To make sure I won't be stuck with that, I've got UR above the R of Jeropiga and NU through Lionizes, so I'm not going to be stuck with that. 12 for my opponent. Now my opponent is stuck, so I need to get the maximum for R, T and U, and that's probably going to come by playing them one at a time, making sure I don't provide an opportunity for my opponent to play his Q. I'm looking in row B to see if I could play Raw and then extend it to Traw, but Traw not good. So what can I do with my U? I'm about halfway down and haven't seen anything. I've got Dewey for 5. Is there anything better than that? 1 minute on my clock. I think that's the best I can do. So we've got R and T. With my T, I can make 2-2 for 4. I can make Tor for 6. So can I do better than 6 with my T? 1 minute on my clock. I've got Riot for 9, but I'm going to score more playing them separately, I think. I can play Jewett for 5, for 4 rather. Well, pretty dismal for the T. I thought there might be a bit more than that. Maybe I should have played Tef instead of Neff. Now, have I still got places for my R? Or and or, I do. So I just now need to consider where my R can play. I got Ret for 3. quickly scanning the board. I've got 30 seconds left. Well, that might be the best I can do, which is surprisingly feeble. But it's enough. Just wait for my opponent to formally end the game. Which he does. And the final score, 369 to my opponent, 496 to me, a winning margin of 127 points. So a high-scoring game. Let's see what I missed. My opponent did well, coming back from a 200-point deficit to 127-point margin of victory. Now, this was my opening rack. I played Vox. That looks best. My opponent's rack. That looks pretty good. Does he have a bingo? No. And this was my rack, and I got off to a great start with Enditing, and a whole bunch of other bingos were playable. My opponent's rack, quite nice. He doesn't have a bingo, though. And then this is my rack, and I played Geropyga, but I missed its anagram, Arpeggio, which scores slightly more. This was my opponent's rack, again, close to a bingo, but he didn't have one. And my rack, and I played K. John for 36, and that looks best. My opponent's rack, again, well, he's got Geodetic. Yeah. But he missed that, fortunately for me, and played God. This was my rack. And I played Whore for 39, which is close to the highest scoring play, and the rack leave is pretty good. Probably a little between How and Whore, because the O helps the U more than the A does, even though ordinarily the A would be a better vowel to keep than the O. This was my opponent's rack. And does he have a bingo? He has Diatine. Okay, in row M, he missed that. Now, did I miss a bingo? No, I didn't. And I played Oars for 43, and that looks best. My opponent's rack. He does not have a bingo. He played Hey, blocking, I think, blocking my out smile. And I played Mew for 26, and that looks best. My opponent's rack. He doesn't have a bingo. He played Liu, and this was my rack. I wasn't very happy with what I did. Lilo J5. Yeah, I think Lilo probably was a better play than Olio. Olio opens up floaters for my opponent to bingo, and the rack leave after Lilo is slightly better. My opponent's rack does not have a bingo, played Oxid, and then I had a non-bingo rack, and I played Kvass for 46, that looks fine. And this was the risk of playing Olio rather than Lilo. My opponent is able to bingo, and all of these bingos go through the floaters I provided with Olio. This was my rack. I foolishly tried Filleter, and, well, Filleter wasn't good, just a whole bunch of plays in the 20s. Now this is my opponent's rack, which looks pretty bingo-y, and he does. He has a whole bunch of bingos. He didn't play any of them. He played Carb. Telferic, wow. Okay, well, I certainly would have studied that, but it still doesn't look familiar. Telferic, that would have been a fabulous bingo. Instead, I played Phi for 25, and Phil, well, probably pretty close, but certainly Telferic would have been a lot better. This was my opponent's rack. he has a couple of bingos, which he missed, and then this was my rack. I6. Well, yep, Carby was good. Instead, I played Phi elsewhere for 13 fewer points. But if you're not sure, then it's foolish to risk a play when you have a certain play elsewhere. And this was a great bingo by my opponent, Twittery. And now this was my rack, and this was interesting. This was a bingo-y rack, and the game is won, and my opponent's got a couple of heavy tiles, but he did only have a few spots for the queue, which I blocked, and I don't think that is taken into account with these suggestions, so I don't think it's particularly worthwhile looking at these options. I think my play was the right one, although possibly 8 may have been better than ale. Yeah, you can see down here that no suggestions are being made for the queue, so I think this did kill off all the queue spots. My opponent played Z, and now, well, you can see here that there wasn't any out in 1. But even if there was, it's better to go out 1 tile at a time, because that means I have 4 goes and my opponent has 1 go. So I've no idea if my single moves were best. They probably weren't, but certainly the idea behind playing off 1 tile at a time was the right one. My opponent's Tsar was the most he could get. G13 rebuts. So that would be 12 points for using the U and the T. I got 5 for Dewey and 6 for Tor, which is pretty similar. That's confirmation my opponent has nothing. Riot for 9. Yeah, there just wasn't much available for my R or my T. And then finally just the R and or at 08 was the best. Oh, okay, well I dropped 1 point right at the death. So I think that was a pretty interesting and exciting game. Some nice bingos and some nice missed bingos, and I think the particularly useful feature of that game was the queue block at the end. Queue blocks don't happen very often, but it's important to keep your eye out for them, to take advantage of them when they do. So I hope you enjoyed watching that game and got something out of it. My name is David Webb, and this has been a video for Dweebovision.